Hello, my name is Matthew, and here is Andy. And Steve Donahue and I have our little book club. Steve has made the name of my channel a reality, and we have a wonderful book club together. We've been reading all sorts of things, and next month we'll be reading Sherlock Holmes. But this week we are reading the conclusion of Daredevil, Born Again. This is my copy, black and white edition. And this morning I reread it. I sat down at the beginning of the month. I read the graphic novel, and it was just so good. I just read it straight through, and so now each week I go back and reread the portion that I should have been reading just to refresh my mind. And I read it this morning, read it again, and the rest of the morning I was reading Jane Eyre, and I'm getting very close to the end of Jane Eyre. And I came across, and I've never read it before, so it's a book that's full of so many surprises, so many unexpected events, and I get to the part where Mr. Rochester, it's revealed, has been blinded. So the house was set on fire by the lunatic in the attic, and Mr. Rochester is saving everybody in the house, and as a result, he's been blinded. And I couldn't help but think, just having Daredevil on the mind, of some sort of pastiche fiction where Mr. Rochester dons an outfit and becomes a superhero in his own day. He gets blinded, and now we have Mr. Rochester with super senses, and again, just like Murdoch inexplicably decides to go off and fight crime. Just a funny thing that I was thinking about. But for this week, we read the end of the graphic novel, and for all of the events and circumstances, all of the pressure and power that the Kingpin has put on Matt Murdock, we have found him at his lowest point, and he is in a state of recovery, and we're about to have the arc of him coming into his own and realizing that he can be even more dangerous than the Kingpin thinks, or something along those lines. And the storylines build up. So it's not just the Kingpin going mad with rage to just snuff out this one character. We also have Daredevil wanting to seek revenge. We have a reporter trying to get a story and being pressured and threatened, and having to make that moral decision of what's more important, his own physical well-being or a story that could help potentially thousands of people, revealing a criminal mastermind that has been contaminating and corrupting the city, and all the threads that go out of the city, all the personal relationships with Foggy and his girlfriend, who becomes integral, taking photographs of all the terrible things that happen, and on and on and on. So it's this really tightly wound story with lots of things happening and everything kind of squeezing together. Of course, it's a superhero comic, and so it's leading up to how does the good guy win? How does the bad guy lose? And for this story, there are henchmen and side villains. We had that two-fisted nurse, and the story that we read this week has the lunatic militant um, super soldier who's been off off fighting uh, in jungles and things like that. But the main villain is the Kingpin. And in the whole story, the Kingpin had one great idea. At the very beginning, he discovers um, the secret identity of Matt Murdock. And instead of killing all of his family members, um, he goes at him um, personally, strategically, um, and just dismantles his personal and professional life outside of the costumed hero, and he does it effectively. It's a realistic portrayal of, in this kind of world, what would a superhero do? Um, what would a supervillain do to take out one of these superheroes if he learned their secret identity? So that's his great idea. And then the Kingpin has a whole series of really bad decisions, blowing up Matt Murdock's apartment. And they get increasingly bad. The ideas get increasingly bad and increasingly seem to be an overreaction, an irrational, extreme overreaction to a character and a supervillain that should be relatively dismissible. Um, there's this attempt to have someone else wear the costume of Daredevil and break into Foggy's house, and um, having police there and news coverage, um, have it revealed that this imposter Daredevil is on a murdering spree, and so the Kingpin would not only have dismantled Matt Murdock's life, but he would have um, ruined the reputation of the Daredevil, and that gets thwarted. The huge overreaction, the crazy set piece, it's mind-bogglingly crazy, is the Kingpin has set up, because he has all these contacts and he has all this influence. He gets this character named Nuke, which I've never heard of Nuke before. And he's, from what I understand, someone that has had a version of Captain America's super soldier serum that has turned him into a larger than life human embodiment of the peak of physical fitness and strength and durability. But he's mad. He's this militant lunatic, and also either addicted or heavily dependent or reliant on some kind of drug. He has these white pills, blue pills, red pills, and the Kingpin manipulates him into this bizarre version of patriotism. The Kingpin talks about the unity of um, um, state enterprise and the military, or something like that. It sounds just like fascism to me, but convinces this guy to go after Daredevil. And a military helicopter flies into Hell's Kitchen with this guy named Nuke, who has like machine guns and bazookas and rocket launchers, and just sets off mayhem, this explosive scene where he is just firing at free will innocent people, just civilians, bystanders. Daredevil's not there. It's not like he's just fighting Daredevil. He's just creating a scene to drum up Daredevil, and is just ruthlessly slaughtering civilians. And buildings are being blown up. There's explosions. People are dying. And finally, Daredevil he has to save Karen, who her whole arc is just being a very sad, drug addicted woman who set off this whole story and has now found herself back in the arms of Daredevil. He's trying to help her, but he saves her, puts on the costume again. Now we finally have Daredevil back in his costume. For almost the entire run of this comic book, he's just been wearing like one of those puffed up down jackets in the shadows, doing things or just not being heroic at all. But finally, he's back in his costume, and he has to battle it out with this super soldier serumed lunatic who's having just like a full-blown military assault in one of the neighborhoods in New York City with a military helicopter. And I thought the idea of the Daredevil, of Kingpin getting the information of Daredevil's secret identity, I thought that was such a brilliant concept. Now, for the Kingpin to have, but also just in-world story-wise. The other brilliant moment, I think the next just truly brilliant moment of this comic book, if we accept that this is a world in which other superheroes exist, so Daredevil's in New York City, that should mean Spider-Man is swinging around, the Fantastic Four are off doing things, all the different superheroes are around. And up to this point, there would be no reason for any superhero or villain to have any investment in this story. Nothing's really happened except crushing a lawyer. A building got blown up. A few people died at low level, street level kind of stuff. But when there's a military helicopter and a man setting off rocket launchers and bazookas and just going on a complete madcap murder spree, that should start setting off alarms. And it would be strange in this kind of realistic realizing of this world. It would be strange if it didn't get other superheroes' attention. And I only bookmarked one panel. The artwork, of course, is just consistently amazing, but I only bookmarked this one panel. And in fact, it does get the attention of some superheroes. And so we have military helicopter, rocket launchers, bazookas. People are just getting murdered on the streets. Daredevil's there trying to save him, but he's not really equipped. It's beyond his power set. And so Captain America shows up. Iron Man shows up. Thor shows up. All at the same time, and just stops it. And it's a Daredevil comic book. He's the hero of this thing. But it was such a cool moment, and I didn't see it coming. It's not like I was thinking, are there going to be any other superheroes showing up? Because it's been such a street level story throughout. But this started getting crazy, and these superheroes show up, and it goes, well, of course they would. If this was happening, of course they would. And let's see. You see Thor. That's the only panel of Thor, just in silhouette up on top of a building, just bringing rain down to put out all the fire. Captain America coordinating, getting people away from gas lines and making sure casualties are taken care of. And Iron Man just stopping Daredevil and this character Nuke and just saying, like, okay, he's no longer a threat anymore. We're just going to take him now. You've been battling it out, getting beat up. Um, I can just level him, but I'll just take him now. So cool. And Captain America looks great. Just the silhouette of Thor is amazing. And then poor Iron Man, who just still looks like this tin bucket. But so that was just a really great moment. The wrap up. We have Captain America learning about the super serum that this crazy person has had, which might be a like a sideline or like an offshoot for Captain America's story. I'm not sure. But so many of these stories really wrap up very nicely. We've had this reporter who kind of comes in and out of the story, but didn't seem to be like completely integral to the Daredevil plotline. We have Gloria, Foggy's girlfriend, who's a photographer. So the reporter's there. We have this photographer there. We have a superhero there. We have other superheroes. We had J. Jonah Jameson early on giving this great pronouncement of the power of the paper. And then there's the Kingpin. And having that kind of like a journalistic integrity, having proof with photographs, being there and brave enough to record and document these things, all kind of coming together, and Daredevil with an incapacitated Nuke villain, all comes together at the newspaper, and they're able to break out a story that the Kingpin is a criminal. He's a bad guy. He just recently won like Businessman of the Year, which he had bribed his way into getting, or something like that. And so it wasn't necessarily just Daredevil was the strongest one that had the last punch. There is a rather ridiculous moment where Daredevil, the blind Daredevil, is driving down the street trying to use his radar to get wherever he's going. But, and anyway, so the story pays off. It was really, really good. It wasn't just a great premise. The character of Daredevil really wasn't even all that impressive. Even when he's in his suit and doing his thing, it does just sort of look like a guy that can fight really well, but not any real superpowers. And just last night, I watched the DC animated Injustice, which looks like a new animated movie, recently released movie. It's about an hour and 10 minutes long. And it seemed like with this story, which is gritty and realistic, or realistic and then some gritty underpinnings. And I watched this Injustice movie, which was awful, and it seemed to not just be gritty and realistic. It seemed to just dismiss all of the characterization of any of these superheroes. And it's a Superman story where Superman is the villain. The Joker comes into Metropolis, and the gritty, realistic part is so far exaggerated and gratuitous and grotesque to just sort of be outside of the realm of my understanding of comic books. he shoots Jimmy Olsen in the head. He captures Lois Lane. Um, he performs a surgery on her where he puts an explosive kryptonite bomb in her heart, which is tied to a nuclear bomb in Metropolis. When she dies, the bomb goes off. So the Joker kills Lois Lane. Metropolis is completely leveled. Um, the Flash is quickly murdered. Superman just turns into this despotic police surveillance system where he's decided no one's going to do anything bad anymore, and becomes like this fascist dictator. And the superheroes are just dying, and Superman's doing terrible things, murdering um, like a whole group of people. He'll just laser eye and wipe out um, people he doesn't like. Um, and I watched the whole thing, but it was so just off-putting, and I don't even know why I'm talking about it, except that I watched it. Um, so anyway, we finished reading Daredevil Born Again by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli. And I thought it was terrific. So I apologize for a strange digression about a movie. Let me know if you've read it. This has been great fun. Next month, Steve and I are going to be moving on to reading Sherlock Holmes, all of the stories. We'll see how much fun that is. And thank you for watching, and take care.